Heyo and welcome to Build and Beautify Season 2. In this Cities Skylines modded Let's Play, we'll build Eneida Bay, a vibrant city of our dreams featuring transit-oriented development, clean energy, and deep city detailing. In the last episode, we implemented Phase 4 of our suburban expansion, which was massive, like twice the size of our other residential developments that we have in Eneida Bay, which actually nearly got us up to 10,000 residents. We then finalized our community center around our subway station with some motels and office buildings featured in the absolutely beautiful Southwestern USA Content Creator Pack. So if you happen to miss the last episode, then click on the info card above or check out the entire Build and Beautify Season 2 playlist located in the description below. In today's episode, we will work on Phase 5 of our suburban expansion as well as introduce our first walk quarry up in the hills nearby our suburban development. So are you enjoying building Eneida Bay? If so, hit that like button, subscribe, and let me know down in the comments what features you'd build in your dream city. If you can't wait to see the new season unfold, consider becoming a channel member for exclusive perks, emojis, and early access to the videos. Also, don't miss out on our Eneida Bay merchandise linked in the description below. Alrighty, so I'm wicked excited to start today's constructions. So kick back, grab your beverage of choice, and let's jump right on into it. Today I want to start with our mining quarry specifically because we're going to want to extend this road here out towards Cyclops Head. I'm doing this for a few reasons, honestly. One, I want a more direct route for our residents to be able to cut back to Cyclops Head from Interstate 5. Two, I want to draw this area in as a district kind of momentarily here so we can implement the heavy traffic ban, as currently the trucks are actually cutting through this area for quicker access to Old Harbor. So if you take a look at this screen here, it's actually causing a lot of noise and air pollution. So I rather the trucks coming in from Interstate 5 be inconvenienced than have the traffic and the air pollution in our suburban development. And on a side note, actually honestly, because I built them a really nice little interchange a couple of episodes back and they aren't using it, which is very rude. So let's start the road layout, and because I want some development in this area, we will extend our arterial road first up to where I want our quarry entrance to be, and then we will extend the rest of the way with the highway road. I am hoping between the district policy and the faster road, the trucks will not go through our residential areas and community centers as they travel over to the Old Harbor area to export their goods. We will also place in a temporary connection to the existing highway. Just, something simple, as we can always reconstruct it later down the line in Eneida Bay's future, should the traffic become congested and heavy. I prefer to develop it like this sometimes as I feel it's organic and provides us the opportunity to react to the needs of the city, which results in unique features and designs. And a challenge, which I do actually enjoy from time to time. Alright, enough rambling for now. Enjoy the time lapse, everyone. Now that the roads are laid out, I want to come in and draw in our district, and I think I wish to name this district Syracuse, as it ties into the Roman theme we have started by sort of tying it into Italy in general, as well as upstate New York, where I was drawing most of our inspiration from for Eneida Bay, specifically around the Finger Lakes region and upstate New York. So let's come on in with our district polygon tool and outline our district, remembering to enact the heavy traffic ban policy so our trucks stop using this area as a shortcut to Old Harbor. Also, give a shout out down in the comments if you've ever actually been to Syracuse, Italy, or to the Oneida Lake area in upstate New York. I'll admit, I haven't been to Oneida Lake, but I have frequently visited Cayuga. Best sunsets ever. Now that the backbones of our road layout are in, let's construct our quarry and where I would like to begin to discuss the plan for the quarry, which is going to be huge. Like absolutely ginormous. To start, we will have our specialized industrial zones up on the rocky, hilly area, using the terrain to create natural zones amongst the contour lines. Now, I plan to have 1 or 2 industry zones up here. I know Anarchy would allow me to extend the district beyond the asset's limits. However, I don't feel we really need to in this case. 1, I don't mind having more generic industry buildings. 2, then we can actually rename the buildings north, south, east, west, etc. Which actually leads my squirrel brain onto a side rant here. Let's come up with a fun, unique name for these mines. Who owns these mines? Are they native residents of Eneida Bay or citizens who moved in from the greater county area? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and if you find any suggestions that you particularly like, give that comment a vote up with the little, I don't know what to call it, the little thumb tool. Give it a vote up. I'm going to use this to kind of create a voting system, and whichever suggestion has the most likes, that will be the winner, and I will implement that into the Eneida Bay lore. Okay, moving on with our plans. Once we have our extractor buildings in, I want to construct the ground earth signature building right about here at the foot of the hills for optimal production. This factory will take the rocks to produce minerals from the mines, and if I was reading the Cities Skylines 2 Wikipedia correctly, I think it stated about 90 jobs will be provided to the nearby residents. Not that we need the jobs per se, because honestly, we need the residents more than we need the jobs, I think, right now, but I do like building industry with mods. It's just an absolute powerhouse, and I cannot resist. Once the factory is in, we will then decorate the area with some generic industry, specifically adding in storage and processing factories, so we are not bottlenecking our mining industry or other production lines. We will then finish up this area with some parking for the residents nearby who wish to drive to work, and as well as a rapid bus line from the subway station. For others who wish to commute from the public transport network. I am aiming for a couple of specific things with that, so stay tuned, as I think it's going to be a little interesting how we implement that rapid bus line, especially because I want it to have the ability to be upgraded for higher capacity. Okay, now that we have the plan laid out, let's see if we actually stick to it. So let's start with pausing the game for mechanic purposes, and let's start by coming in and placing in our specialized industry. Now, I want to try a combination of mining-based assets in this area. So in other words, I want to mine a little bit of coal, rock, and ore. That way we are capitalizing on this natural resource as well as meeting the needs of our factory. Now, this is my second time messing around with the specialized industry and mods. The first was when we made our apple orchards way back, I think it was like episode 1, where we used the line tool to create apple orchards with the apples trees and then create a lumber industry overlay, so that it was actually functional. I still love how that came out, so go check it out. But what I was trying to get at is I can't figure out how to demolish the big drills that spawn in the industry zone. So if you happen to know, let me know down in the comments. If deleting these sub-buildings is a bad idea, let me know that also down in the comments as well. Aesthetically, I dislike how these big drills look in this area specifically. Not everywhere, just here. I think they're too big, too bulky. Typically, I like the drill, but again, it just doesn't really fit. Anywho, enjoy the rest of the time lapse, guys. Sorry about the ramble. now that our specialized industry is in, it's time to build our bulkier asset, the ground factory. And I want this asset to be a bit more front and center as I picture this to be the original main factory for this development site. The smaller parcels I kind of imagine were either acquired by the same company or sold to other companies to process the minerals, coals, and rocks. Next is adding in our generic industry, and I have a few goals in mind for this. 1, I want ample amount of storage-based facilities. 2, I want to fuse a few of the medium-sized factories together to create an imaginary sub-building for the ground earth factory, which I know in a sense I suppose I kind of doubled this factory, but I do still want the sub-buildings. And again, I know I've mentioned this in the past, but this is when I'm going to get on my soapbox wishing there was a mod that allowed me to move a specific company into the generic industry. That way I could specifically choose to create a sub-building for chemicals, concrete, or electronics, which is the next good produced along the rock industrial production line. But yeah, I'll get off my soapbox for, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes or so. Because honestly, I know that mod would risk severely breaking the simulation probably. So let's come on in and let's use the Plot the Growable tool to pick some select industrial manufacturing buildings and storage buildings, and we will just cross our fingers that we get the specific productions we are hoping for. I'll probably plop in at least one office building as well that can serve as the administration for the employees. The accountants, the human resources, the chief executors, and perhaps a project manager or two. Now, before we wrap up this area, let's consider the needs of our employees for a moment. The employees are either going to wish to park their cars here or take public transport to work. So let's start with parking. And what I'm going to do is actually come through and look at all the total employees of each building and draw a parking number off those figures. The goal would be to probably have about a quarter to perhaps a third of the total employees amongst the buildings have the potential to drive their cars to work and park on site. Obviously, I want to encourage transit as this is a transit-oriented city. However, we will not run a subway out this way for a singular factory, and thus I want to find a realistic balance between those who may drive into the factory from the inner city areas and those who may connect with the public transport network off the red subway line. Next, I want to work on the rest of our infrastructure, starting with our road layout for our newest development site. Now, for this one, I'd like to use our grid method. However, I want a bit of an irregular pattern as well. Therefore, we will start with our normal method of laying our large grid with our grid tools so that we have a template. But instead of a bit of a rectangular grid, I am going to aim for a more square grid if I can. This way, we can come through with some 45-degree arterial roads to add a bit of variety and diversity to our road layout. My hope is that it will keep the grids neat but not boring and uniform all across Eneida Bay, and as you can see, I've already kind of just placed these down as just a reminder. We will come in and actually delete those. So yeah, let's come on in, let's start laying this out and adjust the roads. Next, let's connect the transit system between the subway station and our factory and our new residential area. Now, I have a special plan in place for the mining corporation. Specifically, I want a rapid bus transit system with the potential to be upgraded to a tram if the capacity requires it. I also do not want this one to kind of run along the existing road system, and thus I actually want it on its own designated road. So yep, you guessed it folks, time for another battle with the road builder mod. So let's jump on in and see if we can create a transit type road that will allow both the bus and tram to share a lane. I am hoping this will allow us to upgrade the capacity from bus to tram if we find it necessary. After this, we will come in and try and draw a network to the ground Earth station. Next, let's add a bus along the roads this time to connect the new development site to the community center and subway station. This time I will use our existing roads we have constructed in the Road Builder mod, as I do want this transit line on the road itself. We will also add another custom bus shelter to the other side of the additional bus road we built beneath our subway station. I am really happy with how this area is actually shaping out to be, as I always hoped it would become a bit of a transit plaza of assortments, and now we're actually getting to see that come to life. And finally, some pedestrian paths. And this time I chose to do the pedestrian paths last. This is normally a little less intuitive to me, but I wanted to give it a try as I wanted to be able to focus the pathways with specific destinations in mind, such as the parks I will inevitably be building in this area, bus stops, and other connecting paths such as the one that goes beneath the train tracks. I don't know if I will stick with this order of operations for our infrastructure, but I figured why not give it a try and see if it focuses our infrastructure on transit-oriented, car-free based access. Alrighty, so before we wrap up today's episode, let's roll through this new development and place a bit of residential in. But before we do that, let's add in our parks and our community mailboxes real quick first. And honestly, this time I am just completely winging it. We have focused a few park fusions on dog parks with playgrounds, dog parks with skate parks, and thus, naturally, I want another dog park. However, I was uncertain if I wanted more of a community center-based asset, such as like the small city center, or if I wanted a more nature-based asset, such as the campground. Honestly, I love the campgrounds, but I do find it hard to fuse them into the urban areas as, they're, meant to be a lot more rural, which makes sense. So let's enjoy this time lapse and kind of just play through and see what feels right for this area. Okay, so we went a little more custom on it this time and added a tiny bit of commercial in, specifically some gas stations and some buildings that I hope will fill in with convenience stores. And again, I will get on my soapbox for just a second about wanting a mod that would let me choose the business that goes in there. But now let's come on through and get some southwestern USA single family homes in and enjoy watching them build in. Alrighty everyone, I think that just about wraps up today's episode. If you enjoyed today's episode, please hit that like button, subscribe, and leave me a comment down below letting me know your thoughts on today's build. If you're excited to see the next episode unfold, consider becoming a channel member for exclusive perks, emojis, and early access to the videos. Also, don't forget to check out our Eneida Bay merchandise linked in the description below. Until next time, I hope everyone has a phenomenal week.